This is one of the fundamental insights into this weight shift we're talking about. Hey everybody, I wanted to give you some quick tips on how to use your legs to rock your entire body to lead the swing. Now, you'll recall we've talked a little bit about correct and incorrect usages of the hips, and we want the hips to rock back and forth to lead the swing, whether or not we're standing still or X-stepping. So today I want to focus on the standstill a bit. Next time we'll take that idea and put it into the X-step. So here, remember that we want to have a lateral shift toward the target. When I say lateral, what I mean is lateral force toward the target. I want to get as much of that power moving in this direction as possible to lead that swing. So when I'm doing that, I want the rotations of the swing to unfold naturally. I don't want any torquing. I don't want spinning on the rear foot. I want fundamentally counterbalancing, just like we were showing when we would hit the bag with the hammer. So I want you to first work on your stance. You want to have a neutral stance. So that's the way that your feet hang naturally from your hips. My toes point relatively forward toward the camera. So I'm going to take that here. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that our butt is going back and not down. If we go down, we're putting too much load here into the quads. Our knees are leaking forward out of leverage from the ankles. And notice it's really hard for me to get my hips rocking easily. I also don't really get much spring out of these legs. It's kind of an effortful squat-like motion. If I take my butt and put it back, well, I can find this little bounce more easily, so just a nice and easy up and down, and we'll see that it's very easy to rock the hips and power movement. So taking that from the front, I don't want to load my butt straight down. I want to load my butt straight back. Notice that my hands are now coming out into a posture that you'll see a lot of the pros use when they're hugging the disc, right? So they've got their arms in a position creating a cradle for that disc, and they're going to use the space formed by that cradling to swing through. This is, in other words, the power pocket that they're swinging through, the disc coming toward their center of gravity and back out toward that target. Now, the leg action is really important, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people are sharing conflicting information about this. So let me try to break it down in a very simple, intuitive drill. Stand upright, find this bounce. So we want to get our butt back a little bit, nice and bouncy. I want to feel this bounce coming mostly through my calves, my hamstrings, and my glutes. And from this bounce, I want to widen the stance and still say nice and bouncy. So when this stance gets wider, it's now a little bit easier for you to understand how to take this upward bounce and bounce your weight between your feet, right? You want to feel absolutely no tension in your knees here. So as somebody with prior knee issues, I've taken this very seriously and gone carefully. And this action is the kind of stuff you'll see in an NBA defender or a linebacker in the NFL, where they're staying kind of loose and athletic on the legs, and they're very well braced between them. I can move very quickly back and forth with my hips swiveling in this position. And it's not my hips, it's my entire body. Notice my head is well centered into each leg. And if I were to bounce dynamically back and forth, I'm very well supported and quick. So we want to get bouncing back and forth. If we're in a wide stance, notice I'm swinging a lot of my weight back and forth, right? And so this swing is part of the compound pendulum that we want in the disc golf backhand. How does that relate to the throw? Well, this is one of the fundamental insights into this weight shift we're talking about. I don't want you to focus on shifting your weight. I want you to use this action to bounce your weight naturally between the feet. Now, high-level players are using this, but this action is so compressed and low and tight and quick that it's very hard to see on camera. But this is how they're moving their body that efficiently and how they're moving their weight. So how does that connect to the swing? In a standstill position, if I were queuing up my swing to do a standstill backhand, right? I'd be swinging toward the target. I'd swing my arm back. And part of that is that bounce. My leg is helping bounce this assembly back away from the target. My arm is swinging with that to assist. I've got that nice feeling brace here. I could pick up this foot and land balanced on that leg if I should so choose. And then when I move forward, I'm completing that bounce through the other leg. So really succinctly, bounce it back, land, bounce forward to swing. And so as you get used to this rock, I found it easiest to learn stationary like most things and approach this like a pitcher, right? A pitcher stride is easier to learn if you find the best leverage point swinging back, and then as you plant and swing forward, finding the way to swing through with force. And so here again, it's really tempting, and you even see in practice swings often, to kind of open out and spin. But if you actually throw that way, it's going to spin you around the brace. When I strike my bag like that, not nearly as much power. What you want to achieve here is more like a skater motion, right? So if I'm going to do the same kind of rocking with the pogo, and I'm going to land in the front leg, and then I'm going to counterbalance behind, just like a skater. Now I'm going to swim with that skater. And so that's fundamentally the hammer strike that you saw on the bag, but I would be doing this action here with a disc. So here it's important to learn the balance of the head back and forth over those legs, remember. And so this is something that I still practice as I'm doing these swings. You want the head to help keep all of that weight up here when you're braced, and when you land, notice that I'm naturally swaying through that emotion to make space for the disc to come through, and that motion of the whole body is creating a very strong whip effect as I'm pulling the disc essentially with my weight. My weight is falling to lead the swing. My head is helping brace up and swing out from that structure. It's a little less obvious to see at some angles where the head might look somewhat squared up to the target, but in 3D you'll see that there's this figure 8 swaying motion into the hit. So hopefully some of those concepts helped you out. Next time we'll talk about how do we get that action into the X step. It's missing in a lot of players. You need it, you want it, let's help you have it. See you next time.